from the WYLN studios in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. WYLN Evening Edition at 5:30 starts right now.
Good evening. It's Thursday, March 24th, 2016. I'm Ann Gownley. State police are conducting what they're calling a death investigation in Dorrance. It all started with a call reporting that a man was found unresponsive in a home in the 700 block of Amberdean Road. Two men were found dead inside at the home near the boundary line with Wright Township. Police have said little except they believe it to be an isolated incident. It started as a standoff between an armed man and several police departments. Police tried to establish contact with the individual inside, and around 11 p.m. they heard a loud bang. When they finally gained access to the home, they found two people dead inside. Their names have not yet been released. The situation started just after 6 o'clock last night, and residents were allowed to return to their homes around 12:30 this morning. Police are expected to release more details this week. Fire damaged 4 homes in Tamaqua early this morning, and today WYLN was on scene and spoke with one person who witnessed that fire. The fire in Tamaqua broke out around 3:30 a.m. at 116 Center Street. Neighboring homes at 114, 118, and 120 Center Street were also damaged. A total of 5 people were displaced. According to fire officials, the fire began due to careless smoking. David Green, who lives near the home where the fire broke out, said he witnessed it firsthand last night and could not believe what he saw.
Well, I seen the fire. I seen the smoke coming out of the top there in the middle one, and all of a sudden the flames started pouring out. And all the fire trucks come in there and start making it out. They're up and down, in and out. They're all over the place. It's a wreck. It's really a bad shot. Lucky it even happened. I don't even know how it started.
Part of Route 309, where the fire was shut down to traffic to allow emergency responders access to the home. Tamaqua Fire Captain Jason Hartz said the fire went to a second alarm, and all Tamaqua fire companies, Coaldale, Lansford, and Summit Hill fire companies responded. No one was injured, and everyone inside was able to get out safely. The Red Cross has been called in to help the victims of this morning's fire in Tamaqua. After 266 days without a budget in Pennsylvania, Governor Tom Wolf made it official yesterday and allowed the 2015-16 budget to become law, though without his signature. The monies to school districts and other services in Pennsylvania will be released on Sunday. Throughout the stalemate, schools remained open. However, some did have to borrow money. Hazleton area, on the other hand, did not have to borrow money as they thought they would. Today, Superintendent of Schools Dr. Craig Butler said that he was elated that the Hazleton area will finally be receiving the money that it needs.
We're ecstatic. The news from Harrisburg that the governor plans to not veto is just terrific news, and helps us breathe a huge sigh of relief. Obviously now we can concentrate on moving ahead with the educational process, finishing the year, providing our students with best quality education moving forward. Whereas without this news, we can be focusing on looming possible disaster or crisis ahead of us. And this is just such a relief. We are so pleased to hear the governor's commitment to funding our schools.
Although the Republican budget cut expenditures by another $238 million, it remains $290 million out of balance and leaves the 2016-17 budget with a deficit of nearly $2 billion. Coming up here on WYLN, we'll hear from State Senator John Udechak on the budget. Luzerne County Court will not cover costs of an attempted homicide suspect's mental evaluations. That's the ruling from Judge David Lupus in the case of Melissa Ann Skoll. She's the woman who allegedly tried to suffocate herself and her 2 kids in a parking lot on Blackman Street late last year. She'd run a garden hose from the tailpipe of her car to the interior. A bus driver stopped it from happening. Skoll was represented by the County Public Defender's Office after she was charged in December with 2 counts of attempted homicide. She was evaluated by doctors Richard Fischerben and Michael Church following her arrest. Chief Public Defender Stephen Greenwald asked to have Skoll's mental evaluations paid for by the court after attorney Larry Kansky began representing her privately. Greenwald said Kansky refused to pay for the evaluations, which totaled nearly $6,000. Kansky argued it was the Public Defender's Office who was legally obligated to pay the costs since they were the ones who hired the doctors. In light of Lupus's ruling, it's not clear who will pay. Skoll remains in Luzerne County Prison awaiting trial. Wilkes-Barre's Police Chief Marcella Landacki has been assaulted in a formal letter by the union which represents the department. In a letter to Mayor Tony George, the City Police Association calls her an unqualified and ineffective leader who has crippled department morale and created a toxic work climate. The letter further states rank-and-file officers lost faith in her and dread coming to work. Landacki has even told officers to, quote, stay out of the troubled Sherman Hills apartment complex because they don't pay taxes, the letter says. The Citizens Voice got a copy of the letter and printed much of it this morning. The letter is 13 pages and was sent after what the union called a vast majority of the city's 78 officers voted to send it. Leadership of the Wilkes-Barre City Police Union President Sergeant Phil Myers confirmed the authenticity of the letter, but said the union didn't intend for it to be released to the public or media. George swore in Landacki for the full-time post during an impromptu ceremony on Monday. George said he's adamant that Landacki will remain the city's police chief regardless of the reaction from rank and file. Council President Bill Barrett, like George, a former city police chief, said the allegations in the letter are concerning, but he said council is powerless to do anything. Landacki has been with the department for 27 years. The State House has passed legislation to update the state's restrictions on kids who ride all-terrain vehicles. House Bill 1703 would limit 8 and 9-year-olds to the age recommendation placed on the machine by the manufacturer, which is based on speed rather than engine displacement. For older ATVs without such label, the 70cc restriction for 8 and 9-year-olds would still apply. The bill does not change the minimum age for riding an ATV on state-owned land, which is 8 years old. Time now for a first look at our forecast. It certainly was a warmer and sunnier day than we've seen in a while, and hopefully we see the sunshine throughout the weekend. Chief Meteorologist Joe Garbacik is in the Weather Center with the details. Joe, what can you tell us?
Well, overall, things shaping up to be pretty nice as we head into this upcoming weekend. Not nearly as warm as what we've seen today, but still not too bad. Traveling next couple hours into this evening, looking pretty good out there. It's going to continue to remain very nice and on a mild side of things as we go into this evening. But you know, changes are going to be occurring as you head out toward the west. Take a look at the leading edge of some rain approaching the Ohio Valley region, and even some snow, and a mixture of precipitation is indicated by the blues and pinks. That is heading in our direction, and as it heads in our direction, that is going to change these numbers that you see behind me in terms of daytime high temperatures. It's really going to bring those temperatures down a little bit across our area. But right now, hey, we got nothing to complain about. 68 in Berwick, 70 degrees in Bloomsburg, 70 degrees in Danville. A little bit cooler over the extreme northeast where it's only 55 in New Angola and 60 in Jim Thorpe. 7-day forecast coming up in just a few, Ann.
Thanks, Joe. Coming up next, I spoke with State Senator John Udechak today, and he's speaking out about the end of the budget stalemate in Harrisburg. Plus, a piece of history returns home where it was built. More news, weather, and sports is coming your way only on WYLN. Stay tuned.
You're watching WYLN News with Ann Gownley, Gary Perna, Julie Stefanovich, Paula Degnan, Chief Videographer Mike Lula, weather with meteorologist Joe Garbacik, and sports with Eric DeBerardinis.
S.J. Kowalski is your Mitsubishi Diamond contractor. They can install a Mitsubishi electric, Mr. Slim ductless heating and cooling system. Mr. Slim systems are designed to make any living space in your home inviting. You can have a different temperature control for every room in your home. The money-saving technology can save you 25 to 50% on your heating bill. For Mitsubishi, Rinnai, and trained comfort specialists, call S.J. Kowalski at 570-455-2600.
Hello Hello, I'm Paul Esposito Jr. from Victoria's Candies. My family has been serving the Hazleton and surrounding area since 1934. Our secret family recipes and time-tested techniques of making fine candy have made Victoria's Candies your choice for nearly 4 generations. We specialize in Easter baskets and hollow-filled eggs, and we make our own chocolate molds, like the Easter Bunny, the Last Supper, the Cross, an iPod, a cell phone, or a guitar, just to name a few. Shop where the Easter Bunny shops, Victoria's Candies.
Welcome back. I am now joined by State Senator John Yudichak. And Senator Yudichak, it is finally over. In a sense, it's starting the stalemate budget. Governor says, I'll let it ride, but it's not over yet. But what are your feelings on just him being able to say that and it takes effect on Sunday?
Well, one, I'm pleased that our schools will not close here in northeastern Pennsylvania. We really would have had a crisis situation on our hands if we would put parents and children through a school closure. That would have been a major disruption, unacceptable. That's why I stood up and said no more. We need to find a way to get a budget done, and we got the budget done. It's not a great budget, but it keeps our schools open. We go on now to the next fiscal year where we're going to have to battle again. I hope that my Democratic colleagues, Republican colleagues, and the governor understand that we can't put taxpayers through this again. Our job is to govern. We need to put the politics aside and govern for the people of Pennsylvania.
And I know you've heard from several people in your district, just get this passed. We need this passed before the schools do lose this funding. So I'm sure it's a sigh of relief for many of them.
Sigh of relief. Many schools had to take out loans to get through this impasse. Thankfully, Hazleton did not have to do that. But some school districts did. That adds cost to their budget, to their operation. That adds debt to their balance sheet. Unacceptable. Republicans, Democrats, the governor, we need to make sure that our schools stayed open. We were able to do that. That money will flow out this Sunday. The budget will become law, and as Monday the doors open in Harrisburg, that money will be flowing back to our school districts. After
Governor Wolf's press conference yesterday at 1 o'clock, what was kind of the feeling between you and your colleagues in Harrisburg?
Well, frustrated. I'm disappointed in Harrisburg. I'm disappointed that politics has trumped governing, and we need really to put politics aside. There's no question about that. I'm encouraged that I'm seeing some movement from my Republican colleagues. They recognize we got a structural deficit of $1.6 billion. If we're going to invest in Pennsylvania, we're going to invest in our children, in our communities, and in job creation. We got to get back to that conversation. One of the things over the last 15 months, all you talked about was the budget. Let's talk about job creation. Let's talk about health care, investing in our environment, in our children, investing in our schools and higher education. We need to get back to doing the business that we were sent to Harrisburg to do, and that's to govern.
Although the money is released on Sunday, it's not over because the 16-17 budget needs to also be passed, and I guess the hump's not over yet.
No, July 1, we need next year's fiscal budget. And that will start on Monday, the negotiations. I do recognize that there is some movement. I think folks recognize we can't put Pennsylvanians through this again. This is unacceptable behavior from our elected leaders. We need, again, put the politics aside. Let's work together and get the job done.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, after over 200 days going through this day after day, the stalemate, and just holding on to the money, I'm sure that they do realize what they need to do to pass this and what each party is feeling.
Yeah, I think what you've seen dysfunction in Congress, in the United States Congress, where people put their political party ahead of the people back home. We can't have that. We need to work together, and thankfully, I think you're going to start to see that. I think they recognize this has hurt everybody. The damage is done. Some people have been hurt through this process. Thankfully, the schools didn't close, but you know what? There were some human service agencies, whether it's the YMCA, Head Start. There were some things that didn't happen. There were kids that didn't get scholarships, didn't get into a certain program, all because of the political wrangling that went on, the hyper-partisanship that has unfortunately taken hold in Harrisburg. We need to break through, and if that means standing up against your party or against a particular special interest group, that's what we need to do as elected leaders. That's what I intend to do when I go back to work on Monday to get this next budget in line.
All right, and finally, that's what I was going to ask you. Hopefully this budget gets passed way before the deadline in July, but any hopes for it?
Well, my first budget, when I was elected back in 1998, we were done in the second week of May. I'd like to beat that and get done at the end of April, but I understand that we still have many big issues, but we're going to work together. I'm going to work with my Democratic colleagues, Republican colleagues, and the governor. We need to have a budget done by July 1st, and let's get on with the business of governing in Pennsylvania.
So hopefully those residents, especially in your district and across Pennsylvania, can hope and pray that it's not another stalemate.
That's correct.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking taking the time. Good luck on Monday.
Thank you.
Getting that 16-17 budget passed on time. And luckily, all the schools did not close and they stayed open. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
For over 25 years, Whitetail Preserve Shooting Range, 118 Boulevard Road, Bloomsburg, has provided professionally designed skeet, trap, and sporting clay fields. All stations are handicapped accessible with resident NRA certified shooting instructors on site. There are packages available to fit anyone's budget, restaurant and catering on site. Our facility is also available for weddings, business meetings, bachelor and private parties. Call 570-384-2314.
Hey, it's a splendid day to be outdoors across northeastern and central Pennsylvania. We have the mild weather to contend with and a little bit of a breeze, but other than that, just a beautiful day to be outdoors. We got some showers heading in our direction, and we got some cooler temperatures to talk about as well. But before we get to all that, let's take a look at the graphics for today, and you'll be able to clearly see that it definitely was a nice day today across all of our viewing area. We have not had to worry about any precipitation. We saw some sunshine. We saw some of those clouds moving. But other than that, some very mild weather. And we're still in the mid to upper 50s outside. It is looking very nice indeed. We're at 56 degrees, our live Lehigh tire conditions outside our station in Hazleton. Winds now coming in, averaging at about 5 or so miles per hour, so really not much of a factor. Now, it is a little bit cooler across the northeast and extreme eastern PA, where it's only 55. I shouldn't say only. It's still feeling pretty good in Mount Pocono. It is 55. Milder in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton International Airport, 64 degrees. And even better in Williamsport and Selinsgrove and State College, where temperatures continuing to remain in the lower 70s. In the 60s in the Wyoming Valley area from Nanticoke through Wilkes-Barre, Kingston, and Lehman. Up toward the north, that's where the cold air is. There's some snow, a mixture of precipitation. Out toward the west, still milder air, but we do have to deal with some rain. And that rain will start to overspread our area and start to come through. As we go into a little later tonight and tomorrow, we're going to have to deal with some showers around. And of course, that's going to bring in some cooler temperatures. So tonight, we stay mild, 50s. That's about it. We're not dropping any lower than that. And then tomorrow, generally 50s to near 60 degrees. But then, whew, look at those numbers. Typical of March weather. Saturday morning, yeah, we're going to be quite a bit colder. Temperatures only in the 30s early in the morning. As that front comes through, it brings in the colder air. So we could say goodbye to this warm weather that we've been having. But again, it's going to be short-lived because we are in March. And we know we are going to have to deal with plenty of warmer days ahead, because we're officially in spring. Extended forecast looking like this. 57, some showers around for tomorrow. Weekend looking nice though for the holiday. In the 50s, Saturday and Sunday, some showers around for Monday. In the 40s for Tuesday, and then back up into the 50s for Wednesday and Thursday. Our daytime Pennsylvania lottery numbers, the pick 236, the pick 3244, and the pick 40073. Pick 5 numbers 453, 57, and the treasure hunt numbers 1, 5, 9, 22, and 27. Stick around. We'll have a lot more for you coming up after these commercial messages.
If you're not in danger and you see a crime, text 274-637, 274-637, 274-637. Send your tip, take them off the street. Text 274-637. Send your tip, take them off the street. No one will know your identity.
Now helping to solve or prevent the crime is just a text away. Text my tips to the word crimes and let the law help you.
Join us this week on Let's Talk Chiropractic. You're going to meet Pete, a wonderful young man who had an unfortunate car accident, who sought chiropractic care and a team of doctors to help him along this road of recovery. It's coming up this week on Let's Talk Chiropractic. Join us.
A piece of World War II history made its way yesterday to Berwick. Our Julie Stefanovich has more on the story.
Stewie has finally been brought back home to Berwick. It has been over a decade in the making, but the Stewart tank, which was manufactured at the American Car and Foundry plant in Berwick, was delivered yesterday to the place where it was first produced.
Our involvement with the Marine Corps League is in part to honor a gentleman by the name of Fred Shepperly. Fred was a member of the Marine Corps League here in Berwick, but more importantly, he was a member of the factory that produced this tank. So in World War II, because of his knowledge of the Stewart tank, he was asked to join the Marine Corps to help support developing and deploying this tank for the Marines.
Enough money was raised over the last 3 years for the Berwick Stewart Tank Committee to purchase it from a collector in England. It also has a long worldwide history.
We understand that this tank was used by the British, and they used it in Italy. And then it came back to America, and then it was sold to the government of Brazil. Towards the end of the war, they were afraid Hitler might come up and try to attack through South America. But then the war ended, and then the government had it, and then they sold it to a farmer in Brazil. And then when he didn't need it anymore, then Mike Stallwood bought like 18 of them, and he's been selling them off. We finally have enough money. We're getting his last one.
Louis Kovach was a welder during the tank's production. He has seen hundreds of them go down the line.
Oh, hell, they had 9,000 employees one time at ACNF. And I don't know how many tanks we made a day. It's been a long time ago, and I'm 90 years old. I supported military effort, and then I wound up in the Air Force. I was the first cook.
Scott Coslett had the opportunity to sit in the historical machine.
It's just tremendous. I mean, this is obviously a piece of history. We have every intention of turning this into a living memorial, so that the younger generation can see what the greatest generation, the equipment they had and used to fight for our freedom.
We spoke with a World War II and Korean vet who said that having the tank brought back home brings closure.
Some of us gave a lot, some of us gave everything. When you have a boy returning and you haven't seen in a while and they're bringing him back in that coffin, this is closure for those parents. And bringing this tank back to Berwick reminds me so much of closure. And I have so much admiration for the city of Berwick. To me, it's a city we always talk about can-do. The Seabees model was can-do, and we hear America being as a can-do nation, but to me, Berwick is what I call a can-do city, because they want to do something, they go ahead and they get it done.
Now the public will have the chance to see the tank on April 3rd during a short parade. Stewie will then go on a summer tour with dates to be announced. After that, it will be restored and placed in a memorial site outside of the ACF plant. Donations can still be made by visiting bringstewiehome.org. In Berwick, for WYLN
then
News,
we'll have a good
I'm Julie
chance to
Stefanovich.
document everything and look at it.
Thank you, Julie. Coming up next, Eric DeBardinas is in with sports here on WYLN. Plus, Chief Meteorologist Joe Garbacik will have one final look at our forecast. Stay tuned.
WYLN is proud to announce a huge technical upgrade to our channels that will bring a better digital picture and expanded coverage area to viewers all over northeastern and central Pennsylvania. In addition to Channel 35.1 in Hazleton, you can watch a crystal clear picture in Berwick and Columbia County on Channel 47.1 and in East Stroudsburg on Channel 24.1. And we're proud to announce Pennsylvania's newest TV station, Channel 9.1 in Williamsport, serving Lycoming, Montour, Northumberland, and Union counties. Now more than ever, WYLN is your local network.
Watch Off the Beaten Path on WYLN TV 35 and discover the Pennsylvania you never knew existed.
Entering last night, the Baby Penguins and Bears were tied for first place in the Atlantic Division, and each in action on Wednesday. So, erase the previous 64 games, it's a new slate and a new season, a 12-game race for the division title. The Baby Penguins aiming to skate on the Crew like Mario Lemieux, the Crew being the Binghamton Senators. Here's the scenario. First period, trying to find a way That's blocked. But a few minutes later, Carter Rowney, the 6'2" assassin, sneaks it home. That's flawless for his 21st tally of the season. 1-0 home team. More chances for the Pens come later in the period, but they can't capitalize on this 2-on-1. Can he kick it? Yes, he can to make the save. Tristan Jarry, butter and net all night. The shutout for the rookie. Jake Gensel makes his AHL debut for the Baby Pens, and it's a good one, and it's a knockout from Wilkes-Barre Scranton. 5-0 is the final. Hershey also cruised over Lehigh Valley, so the teams remain in a first-place tie. The Pens play Binghamton again tomorrow. And the madness returns tonight after an upset-filled first weekend. 4 Sweet 16 games on Thursday's schedule. Villanova able to erase some demons and make it to the second weekend for the first time since 2009. That year they made it to the Final Four, and tonight hoping for a victory over Miami to put them in the Elite Eight. Texas A&M fresh off the wildest comeback in the history of, well, basketball. Matchup against maybe the best player in basketball. Buddy Hield fresh off a 25-point second half, and the Oklahoma Sooners. Some late games. Maryland clicking like they are capable of. They get number 1 overall seed Kansas, who has dominated so far. The defending champion Duke faces top-seeded Oregon, and then 4 more games tomorrow. Tonight on Late Edition Sports, we'll tell you about a local tie to the tournament that you may not realize. And in other news, Robert Griffin III signs with the Cleveland Browns, which seems like a perfect match. Stay tuned. Coming up, Joe Garbacik is in with a final look at the forecast.
If you haven't found the perfect fishing getaway, you haven't been to Captain's Cove. Located on Henderson Harbor in upstate New York, Captain's Cove offers a variety of accommodations to please just about anyone. The motel, also located on the harbor, offers a magnificent view. Enjoy free morning coffee, air-conditioned rooms, cable TV, and HBO. The cottage can accommodate up to 8 people with 3 bedrooms, a complete kitchen, washer, dryer, 2 full baths, air conditioning, an outside grill, and picnic table. Call us today for rates and information at 1-800-824-FISH.
There's only one Hazleton-based television station that reaches voters across the entire region. WYLN-TV, the best political talk with extensive programming options. WYLN-TV, your stop for political talk.
This week on Topic A, I'm joined by Hazleton City's police chief and Hazleton City mayor to talk about their prospects for moving the police department and the city forward. We're going to talk about grants, the crime in the area, and how much of the 21st century policing is really being used and how it's working in the city. This week on Topic A, only on WYLN.
Well, really nothing going on across the Northeast. That'll be the case as we head into this evening. And then some rain starts to head in our direction. And then as that rain comes through, it brings the front through with it. And it's going to bring in some cooler temperatures as we progress through this upcoming weekend. But still overall not shaping up to be too bad across our area for this holiday weekend. In fact, at this point in time, it should continue to remain dry for Saturday and Easter Sunday. Extended forecast looking like this, and what we can expect going into tomorrow, about 57 degrees. Many areas will be in the 60s, and then as we go into our Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be dry. We'll be up into the 50s. Not too bad. Looking very nice. Some showers early next week. Cooler for Tuesday, but milder as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures approaching 60 degrees.
All right, well, it certainly looks like a beautiful weekend. And
yeah, doesn't look.
I like how the rain's on either side, so.
That's good. Stay that way.
That's all that matters, because I have an Easter egg hunt for my niece and nephew that I think they'd be a little upset if it didn't happen. I know. Do you want one for you?
Yes.
I did promise you. I guess it's archived on the news.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've done that before.
What are you going to do? That's all right, though, but it is spring sports because I know we switch to it every night, but
spring sports start up pretty much next week, and exciting to see the NCAA tournament continue. Your bracket is still perfect because you didn't fill out one.
I didn't.
So that's good.
That was my goal.
Mine, not so much.
Have a good night, everyone.